Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
California. What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of your six-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, January 30th. LA Galaxy getting ready to head out to Coachella, but there are lots of things happening. Two transfers we need to talk about, one incoming, one that looks like outgoing. We're going to talk about Lucas Sanabria and Dejan Joveljic and how that sort of fits in with the LA Galaxy. And are you worried now, with the season right around the corner, that the Galaxy have the horses to be able to compete not only in MLS Cup, but certainly in CONCACAF Champions Cup as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Leagues Cup. We have all sorts of craziness going on with Leagues Cup. We're going to try to explain that to you. Having her back on since the first time, since the LA Galaxy are your six-time MLS Cup champions. It's Sophie, the Cannon Nicolaou. Soph, how you doing?
Do you know, when I heard the intros the first time, I've heard the sixth time. I mean, I've listened to the show here and there,
right? But
I've missed the intro, and it's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Six. That's six people.
That's six. That's this many. That's what I've been told. My 5-year-old taught me that. I did have a bit of a proud dad moment because we were Jake was at school and he was talking to one of his friends, and one of his friends was talking about the Galaxy, and I was like sort of standing around, and he was like, the Galaxy, and Jake goes, the Galaxy have 6 trophies, and I was like,
crazy. That
is correct. Good job. You win.
How many languages can you say 6 in?
1, 2. That's it. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I know anything else. So I haven't traveled the world like you have. All right. I just, I'm lucky that I can say it in English most of the time. So how many languages can you say 6 in?
Probably 5.
I feel like this is like, I can name that song in.
Now you would beat me at that game all day long.
I don't
name that tune.
No, I don't think so.
Really?
Listen, I may claim, first of all, we know Josh has horrible taste in music. So most of the songs you'd be like, if it's Britney Spears from, the early 2000s and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm there.
Me, baby,
one more time. Yeah, that type of thing. If it's Spice Girls, I have a good chance at it. Other than that, I mean, really, maybe some musical theater I could possibly, but those people are trying to name songs in like 4 notes. And I'm always like, I don't even know what that sound is. The piano even playing after 4 notes? Anyway, yes.
I'm sure people have not missed this, but I do have. One day I will tell you. I'll tell you my Spice Girls story.
There's a Spice Girls story?
I really do. I actually have pictures.
Uh-huh.
So I can prove it.
You can prove it? Okay. Save it.
I'll send them to you after the show.
Yes, please. I need this. I need this for our future show. Yes.
By the way, Dan's looking for more money. I'd like a budget for my lighting this year because I'm sick and tired of looking like a corpse.
Yes.
When I do a show with you. So I'm just wondering, as we enter the new season, I'm putting in a request.
You need these super chats for Sophie's lighting. That's what happens. I mean, she'll never see that money, but I'd at least like to have it, No, so a lot of stuff going on in LA Galaxy land. It feels, and I will say it, there should be a little panic, not panic, but listen, the Galaxy just won an MLS Cup. I know everybody wants them to compete for another MLS Cup. I get that. the things that are happening right now lead me to believe that perhaps the first half of the season might be a little more learning on the job than it is competing at the same level that the Galaxy were last year. You have the departures of Gaston Brugman, you have the departures of Marc Delgado, and now you're trying to sort of figure out how everything goes back together. I still think in general terms, you're going to get a similar starting lineup whenever all is said and done, but it's not going to be the same. There's going to be learning curves. There's a lot of different players whenever you look just on the roster, and that doesn't just count starting lineup, but in-depth positions and everything else. So there's all these things. I think we can sit there and say, you're going to have to prove to me that you guys can play soccer again. And I was kind of hoping we were a little past that. It's not that I don't have faith, because I certainly have conversations with people who understand what's going on and much smarter than me at this, and it feels like the idea of what is happening. And I think I started from the very beginning of this in this offseason. I said, I'd be very surprised if Dejan Joveljic stayed. Now, I also said, I think last show, I was like, oh, with Delgado gone and all that, I actually feel like Joveljic is going to stay now. I think it's good. But there's always other factors involved. And I'll tell you right now, if you think you have it figured out, that's when you know something's about to happen, because you don't have it figured out. And so we can talk about all that stuff. But I mean, coming off the euphoria of the offseason that seems like it only lasts for about 3 or 4 days, where do you feel, where are you sitting right now with this LA Galaxy?
So there's two things. The first is, I love American sports, as you know. I'm a Brit who's totally all in on the culture of American sports. And in a sense, American sports and the financial structure makes sense, because things have gotten way out of hand in Europe, especially in the Premier League. So I get that part. What I don't like is you beat it, unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you win a championship and then you dismantle a team, or there's lots of moving parts. It's like chess, and drafts. And so, by drafts, I don't mean the super draft. I mean the board game drafts. It's like everything happens so quickly. Right. So that's the part that I still, even being here for 20 plus years, kind of grapple with. The second part is, as a fan, I'm kind of bummed. I really grew to like this team. So if I put my fan hat on and then I put my media hat on, right, it very rarely happens that they're endeared to you on both sides. I really got to like this team. They were so likable. They were so good with the media. They were all like engaged. There was something buzzy about everything last season, right, whether it was a press conference, whether it was, of course, being in the locker room with the, being close to MLS Cup and all that type of stuff. It's awesome. But there was this team, I wish, and I know it doesn't work that way, Josh, that they could have stuck together for one more season to kind of do a double. And I know that it doesn't work that way, and I understand contracts and all this type of stuff. But I'm going to miss that team. And I covered the David Beckham team, as you know. Right. We both covered that team, the Robbie Keane, the Landon Donovan. In fact, I covered the team, as a fan, I was going for it since 2008. But then in 2010, just, started getting onto the media side of things. This was probably one of my favorite LA Galaxy teams to cover, because of overcoming all the adversity, because of kind of being reborn, LA Galaxy 2.0, behind the scenes, all the things we used to see, used to hear, right, used to experience. And for those reasons, I'm going to miss the 6th MLS Cup Championship winning team.
I get it. It makes sense. And when you're thinking about how all this stuff comes together, you would like for it to stay. Of course you would. I think just as media or as fans, and by the way, when you're wearing your COG hat, is that like a combination of the fan and the media hat, like at the same time? Because you said when I have my media hat on and whenever I have my fan hat, you have a COG hat on. I just want to know how that works.
Yeah. And by the way, on my show today, the Arsenal fans were asking me, they never ask me about my swag mostly. Mm-hmm. I mean, they say I dress good, but right, today everyone went nuts for the hat. They were like, "Where can I get that hat?"
Okay, so we need
Just
to sell
saying.
them. We need to sell them to Arsenal fans whenever Gabriel Peck goes there, right? That's what we need. We'll
Damn.
just send them. We'll send them on the airplane with Gabe, right? That's a joke, by the way. That's not happening yet. Just relax.
Remember who listens to the
Yeah,
show?
I know, right? I don't want to speak that one into existence yet. I think the Galaxy, but no, I mean, you get it. You know these guys, and I've always said this as somebody who covers the team as closely as I do, and then gets the access that I do. I want them to succeed every year. There's nothing better than succeeding and seeing these guys thrive. And by the way, if I was covering another team, I would probably want them to succeed too. It's not
100%.
just it's just whenever you're that close to people, and I just feel like it's just. I root for people. I want people to do well. I think that's a general thing in life. I want people to do. I want all of our listeners to do well. That's awesome. Just a little side note. We had to go to a city council meeting for the Train Club stuff, and so we had some of the younger kids talk. And I'm like, if you would have asked me as a younger kid to talk at a city council meeting, you would like, no, it wasn't happening. I was shy, wasn't happening. And here's this 8-year-old kid that goes up there. I couldn't have been prouder if he was my own son. I was like, he got done, he talked, he did his thing, he came in and he was sort of, and I was
cute.
like, you did so good. And that's it. I just want everybody to do good. So I'm happy for people whenever they do well, but you're seeing pieces being pulled apart here a little bit. It's kind of like cotton candy. You grab it, you pull it, and you get little strings that are, and you're like, the strings are players and they keep going as you're pulling away. And I wonder, listen, I think that they have a good plan in place in terms of how to replace some of these, and I think it's going to help them be more cap stable as they go forward. But I would be lying if you can't look at the roster and be like, it feels a little empty. Now, maybe that helps. Maybe there's some things coming in that help, and certainly we can talk about Lucas Sanabria, and let's talk about him up top. Nacional today announced that basically he was exiting. Actually, they said he's gone. Thank you, Lucas, for defending our colors for all these years. Best of luck in the future. Lucas Sanabria was transferred to the LA Galaxy for $5 million, plus $1.8 million in bonuses and a 20% sell-on fee. That all seems fairly accurate. And then we got a picture, and my good friend Chris Tucker had this on his timeline. I stole it from him, but it had a picture of, I think that's the agent and Lucas Sanabria at the airport walking through. And in one picture, Lucas Sanabria looks like he's 40, and in another picture, he looks like he might need to ask his mom permission to go on the airplane flight. So
in the one picture, he looks like Alex Ruiz's dad. This one.
Okay, good.
And,
yes.
and then in the other picture, he looks like Alex.
Yeah, like Alex, just straight up. I'm sure El Nino will love that one. So yeah, he will. I'm sure we'll hear from that. But that's the Sanabria transfer, and I think that we're going to see. We told you that we were expecting that to happen, but he's traveling. It looks like it's happening. So now we await the official announcement. And the Galaxy have been putting stuff out on Fridays lately, so God, it could be a Friday, maybe it's a Monday, maybe it's a Tuesday. Who knows? As it all comes through. But the Sanabria thing. Now, Lucas Sanabria comes in as a box-to-box midfielder. Soph.
Yes. He's
going to be replacing Mark Delgado, but you take a almost $1 million salary in Mark Delgado and you turn it into a by the way, the salary is higher, but the cap hit and what you're absorbing there is $150,000 to $200,000. So that is a replacement, and you gathered money that you can use to pay down other salaries. And we talked about bonuses and all the things on Monday's show that hit cap and how ridiculous the cap. And in fact, I kept this up here just so I go, here's how you calculate a player's salary budget. Once again, taking the player's annualized base salary, adding to it signing bonuses, adding to it any really readily achievable individual bonus, adding to it housing, blah, blah, blah. There's it's A through K in terms of things you have to figure out in order to figure out what cap hit is. The Galaxy have to use this money to pay all that stuff down, and there's stuff in there we don't even know. Transfer payments, we always thought they were annualized over the life of the contract for the cap. That's not how it is. It's paid in the year that you pay them. So sometimes, let's say you transfer somebody. I think we use Elijah Winder, who's a new addition to the LA Galaxy, who I'm really excited to see play. I'm super pumped. We're going to try to get him on the show here, possibly next week. But Elijah Winder,
great name.
So good. He has an older brother, right? Josh Winder, if I'm correct.
Is it Josh?
I think it is. I think somebody will correct
Josh,
me. Yeah. Plays at a higher level. I think he's over in Europe. But Elijah comes in, and the Galaxy paid a $400,000 transfer fee from USL to LA Galaxy. I think it's a new USL record from USL to LA Galaxy, or from USL to MLS. Well, that is a 3-year contract, but they're going to pay that over 2 years. So really his cap hit will change from year 1 and 2 to year 3, whenever it happens. So confusing, all this stuff. But what I'm trying to get at is that they trade Sanabria for Mark Delgado, salary plus cap plus all those things make that a palatable deal, right? It makes it okay.
Well, plus he's much younger as well.
He's younger, higher ceiling. You expect that you could sell him, right? So all these things sort of come. If you're bringing in U22s, and let's remember the only U22 that the Galaxy have on the roster currently is Julian Aude, because Dejan Joveljic just aged out of his U22. So they have one. They're allowed to have 3. So Sanabria will make 2, which means there's still a third one. Well, who was a U22 and who isn't a U22 and now is Dejan Joveljic. And so we had this from the mustache himself, Mr. Tom Bogert. Oh, good. We got the clock going, Soph.
Big Ben.
It is
sorry.
Big Ben. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
It just scared me for a second. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Like normal. I'm a scared little cat. But Tom Bogert puts out there that Dejan Joveljic possibly going to Tigres, speaking of cats, going to Tigres and have a bid for LA Galaxy forward Dejan Joveljic. We have seen today that seems much more advanced than we thought it was. And so perhaps Dejan Joveljic, and the reports right now have it at $5 million on the transfer fee. I don't think that's enough. I'm going to say it, and people have already been saying it. I don't think that's enough for Dejan Joveljic, but here are the things that are stacked up, Soph, and and then I'll let you sort of say what you want to say about Dejan Joveljic. It's the last year of his contract, so he has 12 months. So you either move him this window, or you move him in the summer, or you get nothing for him because he will be a free agent. He'll be gone, and it's over, right? And we know that the Galaxy's idea of how they're going to do this U22 thing and to get these players is to sell players to get players, right? And so they need to get something out of Dejan Joveljic, which they got a whole bunch of in terms of production and everything else. So $5 million is what it is. The other part of this, and I think it's the biggest part of this, is I think we all know Dejan Joveljic wants a raise. He's making $670-something thousand as of last year. He probably asked for a raise. I don't know that he got much of one because he's up against the max budget charge in MLS, so I'm not sure. But we talked about him coming out of U22 land and aging out of that. His cap hit went from $200,000 up to $607,000. That's almost $500,000 difference in cap hit without him getting a single red cent more. Nothing. The Galaxy have to cap him like he got this big raise, but he got no money. No extra money. And any money you do give him, you have to have general allocation money to pay down because he's up against the max budget. So these are the things you're up against. And if you're Dejan Joveljic, aren't you wanting more money? Aren't you like, hey, remember that? All those goals I just scored you? Did you forget about those? Because I need more money. He's got his hand out, as he should. Players should. When they play well, they should get rewarded. I don't think the Galaxy can afford to reward him. So if he goes somewhere, like Liga MX, you're looking at a guy who's making possibly 4 times as much as he made with the LA Galaxy, $2-3 million a year, because Tigres doesn't have to worry about a salary cap. So even if he doesn't play and he sits on the bench, that could be a good thing. So those are the things. So where do you stand on the Dejan Joveljic transfer?
So he's a player I'm going to miss for sure. He came into his own last season, matured so much on and off the pitch. I think became much more relaxed with the media. Had some not so productive moments before this season. Lived in the shadow of the Killer Peas and came into the type of form that really was so invaluable to the race for the championship. I think that one of the hardest positions to find in modern day football is a prolific goal scorer. Scoring goals is so huge, right? And I know people have probably missed this, but my analogy with Arsenal. Last season, Arsenal had 4 players with 15-plus goals, Josh. It was a huge difference. Last season you see Gabriel Peck scoring goals, you see Dejan scoring goals, Ricky scoring goals. Paintsville kind of got into the groove of scoring goals. And it is really difficult, I think, to replace what Dejan brought to the side last season. Now, if you're kind of rebooting, that's one thing, but cutting and pasting, it's much more difficult when it comes to playing up front, I think. And I'm not as much of a genius as you are when you talk about the different contracts and the A to the K. How do you replace his impact?
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to get better. I can't remember who I was talking to, and I said, I think Dejan's going to potentially like top scorer form next season. So in my uneducated question to you is, they can't afford him. Why? Like,
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ultimately, they can keep. Listen, he has another year on his contract. If they want to tell Dejan that he can't go anywhere and that he's going to say he can't go anywhere, so the Galaxy absolutely could do that. Will Kuntz could put his foot down and say, "Listen, we'd love to move you, but it doesn't work for us. We're not getting enough money, and so we want you to play." Okay, you can do that. That's always tough with players, right? And maybe Dejan will understand. And maybe if you're Will Kuntz, you go into him and say, "Listen, we'd love to move you, to Tigres because we understand you'd be making a lot of money, but we're not getting the return that we think we're doing. We're going to hold you for 6 months and sell you in the summer. When we think, one, we can get better players, or two, we think we can get more money from you, maybe even to Europe. Is that a plan?" And you have to go there and say, "Hey, does that work for you?" Now, Dejan may be like, "No, it doesn't work for me. I want to go to Tigres. I want to go now." It's going to be hard for you not to take that money. The whole reason, and listen, like I said, I think they can afford him cap-wise, although it's a crunch, and they've been trying to generate a lot of general allocation money to keep him and Gabriel Peck together. Gabriel Peck also aging out of the young DP slot, so he's costing more against the cap as well. Again, no raise, but costs more against the cap. So I think it's almost $1 million hit between Dejan and Gabriel Peck, just those two players. So,
Josh, does this deal have to happen in order for the new signing to happen?
No. Sanabria happens regardless, because it looks like they already cleared that with all the stuff that they did with Delgado and with Brugman, and so they're able to sort of bring that in. So I don't think that happens. I think if Dejan goes, you're looking at you're going to have to bring in somebody else. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, what they could do, and this is I think this is the expectation, and just having conversations, I think this is the way to go. If Dejan goes, they will have to go out and get somebody to bring in. Right now, ultimately, that's going to be another U22, so a U22 striker, just like they went out to get Dejan, they have to get somebody else. That helps with cap hit tremendously, right? Because now you have Dejan up at 673 plus in that range, max budget charge, and now you're able to bring that down to $150,000, $200,000, depending on how old the player is on U22, and you still get to have unlimited acquisition fees, and you still get to pay him the max budget. So that player is making $675,000 as a 21, 22-year-old, 20-year-old, something like that. So, but the problem is, and it goes back to what you said, Sophie, finding guys to score goals is difficult. And who are you going to find that's going to be as comfortable as Dejan, and how we've seen him grow into that role? Mm-hmm. The only counter to that is, when we said this at the beginning of last year, we thought Dejan would be good because all he really has to do is sit there and score goals, because you're going to get crosses from Peck and Paintsil, and you're going to get fed from Ricky Puig and all these things. I think that still applies. As good as Dejan is, he is a product of the system sometimes too, and we saw him struggle with what the Galaxy had as a system before that, and he really shined with Peck and with Paintsil on those sides. So again, a product of the system, but we saw him create some unbelievable goals just in terms of taking steps and causing players to miss. And, I think one of the goals in the LAFC game where he had his defender move too far to the right and he brought it back to the left and fired it, just created space in some of those areas. So listen, you're going to miss him. The other part of this is really interesting too. If the Galaxy go out and get a U22, they need money to be able to purchase a U22. Likely that money would come from the sale of Dejan Joveljic. Now, $5 million, I've said, isn't enough. And I think we've talked before that said, hey, if you get $5 million, you can convert $3 million of that to general allocation money. That is not true, by the way. My education on this continues every single day. Just so everybody knows, I'm wrong a lot, and there's smart people who I can talk to who tell me I'm wrong, and they're the ones I know when they say it, it's right. This is not... I'm not talking to other fans. I get to talk to other people. So I know this is right. So if the LA Galaxy move Dejan Joveljic for $5 million, Sophie, they will not be able to convert any of that money to general allocation money. That will go back into their pocket in terms of them being able to go ahead and buy another U22. So they get $5 million. They can go out and use that $5 million to get a transfer fee for another U22 player, that type of thing. But the idea was, I think you have to recoup your costs on players, on U22 players, whenever you sell them, before you can take money and convert it into general allocation money. So from what I can tell is that the LA Galaxy would have to be somewhere, sell Dejan Joveljic for somewhere in the $8 million range before they could really start converting stuff into general allocation money. That's still in my range. I feel he's like a 5 to 10 transfer. I just wish, I kind of wish, I think Europe would overpay for Dejan Joveljic a little bit. And so I'm wondering why Tigres seems like the place that he wants to go. So,
yeah, I was going to ask you, have any European clubs that we know of shown interest? Because it would seem to me like going back to Europe would be a really good choice for him. And I think he's got the kind of talent that could play in, he'd have the time to play in, like for a Liga team. I think he could probably play in the championship because he's got really good physicality as well. And he showed a lot of dimensions. I'm glad you mentioned that goal against LAFC, because one of the things with Dejan is, a lot of strikers these days, they're not kind of, they don't just have, some of them just have one asset, really good. Are you good in the air? Are you good, maneuvering? Are you good at scoring bangers? He can score any type of goal.
He can.
And that is very unique.
Right.
And in this league, a player like him really becomes a star.
See?
And I thought attitude-wise too, the way he handled himself when it was all about the others, I thought that maturity level was next level.
One of his biggest fans and the guy who Dejan Joveljic credits with giving him sort of this professional mindset and attitude was Sasha Kljestan, right? Sasha Kljestan was on.
I ignored that comment.
No, I saw it, right? Sasha Kljestan went out there and said, why isn't, he goes, where is somebody in the league wanting to keep Dejan Joveljic? Like, he's worth maybe $10 million. He goes, if I forget who was it Vasquez? He's like, it's worth $10 million. Dejan Joveljic just scored how many goals, and who doesn't want a proven goal scorer in there? Which, by the way, crazy rule, if the LA Galaxy would somehow sell him within the league, they then wouldn't have to worry about the recoup costs, and they could transfer some of that over to general allocation money. Again, it would help with salary cap issues and all the other things. So if somebody in the league wants to take him, now is the time. But I don't know about you. I don't really think Galaxy fans are into making anybody else in the league better with Dejan Joveljic. I don't know that they want to face him. I'm like, maybe New England. Maybe you just send him to New England. Which team is going to be bad this year? But then, like, does Joveljic want to be there? It's basically whoever would buy him because of the transfer fee would have to make him a designated player. Is Dejan Joveljic a designated player in Major League Soccer? Those are questions.
Yeah. I think Galaxy fans have already taken one hit, even though they understood that player having to leave in Delgado, losing him to the rival, that's never a good thing. That's tough. That's a tough hit. So yeah, going to another MLS team, I don't know if LA Galaxy fans can take two hits in one transfer window.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I think that if Joveljic wants to go to Tigres, he goes. I think the money is too much for him to turn down. Like I said, he's going from $675,000, $700,000 a year to maybe he could making almost $3 million a year. It's
life changing.
It is, and he should get it at this point too. This is a good contract, good time for him to get a contract. And then Europe's still not out of the question for him. Let me get to some super chats because we had a whole bunch of them. We haven't touched them here.
Alrighty.
Yeah. $5 super chat from Tim. Hi, Josh and Cannon. What do you think about Marco Royce? Is he healthy? Do you think he'll be better this season? Happy Thursday. Go G's. I had no problems with Marco Royce and how he played last season. I know there's people who expect him to be like this game change. He was able to keep continuity and did great stuff. I'm like, just do that same thing that you did last year. Hopefully had some time off, got some rest, did all the stuff that he needs to do, and comes back a little healthier, because certainly that's a concern. But when they signed Marco Royce, Sophie, the idea was that you wouldn't have to rely on him to be there all the time. And if the Galaxy are going to have to lean on him a little more because Ricky Puig is out, then I can see that. But I'm still not expecting him to be, to save this team. I really don't. What do you think of Marco Royce?
I totally agree with you, and also for the money. But also when LA Galaxy signed him, I thought this is one of the, could be the best super sub ever. You've just run crazy in a midfield, and then there's 25 minutes to go, and you've got Marco Royce coming on, who, may not be the same player and, fitness wise, but you could still see his touches, his intelligence, spaces he ran into, spaces he created. So yeah, I think I wouldn't worry too much about him as long as he's not seen as Ricky's injured, we're going to play Marco.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
yes.
Then I think you'll have a problem.
Very well could. I say let Marco Royce ease into the preseason. If he doesn't want to play any minutes in the preseason, I really don't care.
Yeah, agree.
He's earned that. Aaron, $5 super chat. 2 years ago at the season ticket member event, I offered Dejan my autograph and gave it to him. That is why he has been so good. Aaron, obviously that's true. 100%. Ronald, $5 super chat. Josh, any idea who the U22 striker rumored may be? As much as I wanted to be in denial and I knew Dejan would probably be leaving. Here's the good news, Ronald, is one, I don't know, but you don't need me to know, and that's the good news. You don't need me to know who that replacement is. I've never been good at this, where people go out and can scout players and say, this is the guy, the Galaxy. You know who is good at that is the LA Galaxy right now. So I am fairly certain with all the ghost teams that they have, Soph, that they said, okay, cool, Dejan's off. Here we go again, every 15 minutes. I like it. Okay, but basically they go to those ghost teams. They say Dejan Joveljic is out. Who is our next player? Oh, and we want him to be a U22. So let's find the under 22s that we can purchase, that we can go out and get, and we have those guys on a list, and we've already scouted them in terms of what we want. And now we just have to send them out in terms of getting guys to actually look at them and go out and offer. The problem with that is that it takes time. And so if you're moving Dejan now, and we look at the LA Galaxy's preseason schedule, game on February 5th, game on February 9th, of course, where we'll be out at the Coachella Valley Invitational, February 12th and February 15th, and then February 23rd, the LA Galaxy kick off their season. So there's not a ton of time to get all this done, to get all of your visas and all that stuff done. So now you're being pushed into this. But same thing happened last year with Paintsel and Peck, and when they finally arrived and getting them started, and that turned out okay. Not everything has to be ready on day one. You just want it to be as close to day one as you can get. So for me, I don't know who it is, but I'm fairly certain the LA Galaxy know who it is. So just
totally agree with you.
Okay. Sam, by the way, $5 super chat. Samuel, I should say. I don't want to just shorten it to some, anglicized name here. I work at Cal State University of Dominguez Hills and occasionally go to Galaxy Store during my lunch. I've met a couple of players, had the pleasure of meeting Dejan before the Western Conference Final. I've heard, Dejan's out and about. People meet him all the time. Yeah. So I'm good. I'm glad that he's around and you could see him. Let's see. Step, you have a fan here, Sophie. I'm gonna read it. Step, $5 super chat. Sophie, you're beautiful. Plus, you have a great accent. Go Liverpool. There you go.
I loved everything about that except the Go Liverpool part.
Don't worry, Aaron said underneath that the accent is fake, so shouldn't believe it anyway, right?
Yeah, it is. Remember, I'm American.
Yeah, I know. We all know it. Serge, by the way.
It's very sweet.
$5 super chat. Dejan leaves. Is this a sign for Lewandowski for the summer with the help of Royce?
Stop, please.
Do I want to get into that?
Yes.
Do we want to get into that?
Oh, are you joking? I wanted him at Arsenal. People were calling me mad. And they said, oh, he's done. He's this. I go, dude, the guy lives like a machine. He sleeps in an oxygen chamber. In fact, he doesn't even sleep on his left side, I read once, because he doesn't want to put pressure on his heart. He and his wife, I don't know if you've seen them on social media, but they're a specimen of humanity that goes beyond anything you've seen before. Robert Lewandowski would be an absolute god here. He would have the Zlatan impact, but I think even greater. And he's gone on to be banging goals for Barcelona this season. They finished second in the Champions League table. The dude is an absolute beast. Yes. I'm all in on that.
I just don't know how.
Whose super chat was that? Give him the money back.
I don't even know how to do that, so I will not. It was Serge. Serge, by the way. I just don't know how you do it. Because you have all your designated players. I mean, Peck has to go. That's one way you could sell him in the summertime and bring Lewandowski in, and that's a way to make that happen.
No.
Yeah, but you're going to get $30 million possibly for Gabriel
Can't you
Peck.
do one of those gam ham things with Louis?
You can, but I don't. Has he made all his money? Is he fine with that?
Oh.
Listen, you tell Cristiano Ronaldo to come play for TAM, and Cristiano Ronaldo's going to tell you to go beat sand, right? Like, there's certain guys who are like, no, I get paid what I get paid because I'm this good.
Not if you can beat Messi to an MLS Cup.
Okay, so maybe that's something that could happen in the summertime. I still think that Peck moves. I don't think he moves. If they don't have to, I don't think he moves this year. I think he moves at the end of this next year. So, which also could depress his transfer a little bit, which is why you maybe want to see him in a summer transfer instead of at a winter transfer. But can you imagine losing Gabriel Peck in the middle of the season? Nobody wants to do that, right? So,
I don't think nobody wants to lose Peck, period.
yeah, but that's not realistic. Though.
I know it's not. He's the 15 million, 20 million pound transfer that's coming in the future.
You know, I don't know what the exchange rate is right now, but can we just stick with real money instead of some of that fake stuff you're using? Like, I'm saying $20 to $30 million. All right. That's where I think Peck sits, and I think he could be the new outgoing transfer record for Major League Soccer whenever he goes. Let's see. But that happens in the next 18 months, if that happens. That's for me.
Also, by the way, John Duran, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Craziness, though.
This is crazy.
He scored, 10 goals in Major League Soccer? 10 goals. And as the transfer is going to be for $22-something million, $22.1 million or something like that?
He's going to Saudi Arabia to make an absolute fortune. And yes, I think it's more than that, much more than that. But and of course, Chicago Fire are going to benefit from that because they have sell-on clause. So, yeah, if Gabriel Peck... I think John Duran, I'm not saying he's a one-season wonder in the Premier League.
Right.
But you're going to Saudi now. You're 21, 22 years old.
It seems...
yeah, I think Peck's ceiling's higher. But, yeah, were you talking about... I think it could be a record as well. No doubt about that.
Yeah, but that's what you're getting into. So, again, don't say no. And I think if you're the LA Galaxy and Will Kuntz that you are setting something up going on down this road. But I do think that Dejan Joveljic, I said it before, I thought it was 75% chance that he was going to move at the beginning of this. Now I back that off whenever things were happening. Now I think he's going to move because he wants the money. I think players want to get paid, and I don't have a problem with that, but the LA Galaxy need to watch themselves here. The $5 million is okay. With 1 year left on the contract, I don't know that you have too much more leverage, and if you wait until the summertime, maybe you'll get 5 again. Right? I mean, that's realistically, maybe you'll get 5 again in the summertime. Now, 5 again for 6 months versus, having them for the whole year. There's a value to that, but maybe you get 5 or 6 for him in the summertime. Is that worth it to do? And is he okay waiting? He has to be okay waiting. You do not want a surly...
No, you don't want a surly...
Dejan. No, nobody wants that. I'd be scared to talk to him. I'll be honest with you. The guy is great though. Just so great. So anyway, those are all the things that are coming up right now. And I just want everybody to understand that that's how it's going. I can play
when he goes, he'll go with love.
He will.
LA Galaxy fans will forever love him. He is part of LA Galaxy history. He will always be welcome back. And, that's the beautiful thing about sports. It's and I think that's kind of what reminds me of, if I work on a film production and you're done filming, right? It's really sad, right? Because everyone says, oh, but no one really gets together. No. But you're left with this memory of a lifetime, right? And people will always stay in touch, or there'll always be this bond. And that will be the case for anyone who was involved in the run last year in MLS Cup.
Yeah. By the way, Class Trends asked why you just don't re-sign Dejan Joveljic, and the answer is they can't afford to pay him what he wants, and so I don't think he would re-sign. He knows he's worth more. The Galaxy know he's worth more. That's the problem right now. Everybody knows he's worth more. How much more though? Well, Tigres think it's maybe $2 million a year.
He deserves more.
He does. He does. And yeah. I think if this was any other league, that you wouldn't have a problem keeping Dejan Joveljic. Dejan Joveljic could be your striker for the rest of the eternity if you had him like in a place where you didn't have to move him. But in a hard cap league, that's tough.
I'd try and get some money out of Rangers or Celtic for him. He'd be playing in Champions League football. I mean, yes, dial up. Let's get Will on the phone.
Let me see. Oh, you know what? Not going to answer. No. So that's the thing. So that's the transfer business that we have right now. I can't show you the roster as I have it right now. Sanabria not on here yet. Not official. I'll put him on when he's official. But yeah, just sort of sitting there with it. I got some numbers out of things because the LA Galaxy announced their CONCACAF Champions Cup roster. There's nothing major on this. By the way, Dejan Joveljic is on this because, of course, he is. But the problem is, of course, that the LA Galaxy have these games coming up. And, of course, they don't have what looks like maybe a complete roster, especially if they move Dejan Joveljic out. And so then having to try to get the next piece in before all that happens. It's going to be a bit of a slog for the Galaxy here if all that goes with the way that we expect that to go. So that's all set up. So we have that. One little thing that I wanted to point out here, and this was in a stats article from NSC Stats, Nashville SC Stats, which was really interesting. And they're basically looking at Corcoran's duel numbers, right? And so they were trying to look at this. Well, one of the things that popped up on this chart, and this is defensive duels. So this is defensive duels 1%, and then your other axis is aerial duels 1. There's a kid out there on the far right-hand side, Sophie, that I said I was really excited to see play. Elijah Winder is the far right-hand dot at the 50%. So wins 50%. He wins about 40-something%, 42, 43% of his aerial duels, but wins 70% of his defensive duels. 70%. He's an outlier on the chart. All right. So I'm really excited to see what that is. It was just one of those interesting things that popped up whenever you weren't planning on doing anything. You're like, oh, let me look at that chart. Oh, wait, isn't that Winder? Yes, it is. So we're able to see that. Absolute fire gear from the LA Galaxy. My youngest saw this, and he's a big snake fan already, and he wants the Year of the Snake scarf that I think it's Mitchell Ness put out. And just the Galaxy are doing great things there, so I wanted to highlight that. I may have to end up buying that scarf. My wife told me no, but she doesn't. She doesn't have my wallet, so it's fine. The blue, white, and gold pop-up, something I wanted to make sure everybody knew about. Coming up March 2nd, okay? March 2nd coming up, noon to 5 p.m., Common Space Brewery and Beer Garden down in El Segundo. So be ready for that. March 2nd, again, is where you'll want to be for the blue, white, and gold pop-up. I wanted to make sure we got a shout out before we go completely sideways and off the rails here, because we are about to talk about competitions and the competitions the LA Galaxy are in. So... And
shall I just sit back for a minute? Right, hold on, let me get comfy here.
Yeah, get comfy. One is I have to tell you the competitions the LA Galaxy will be playing and won't be playing in. And then I somehow have to describe to you in a way that I'm not even sure I understand. This is like a teacher who's like an English teacher who has to teach math. They're going to make me try to explain this Leagues Cup tournament.
Do you have charts?
I have graphics. I have things that I can try to use. So that's what we're gonna try to do. So here we go. 2025 North American Cup qualifications. The LA Galaxy will play in CONCACAF Champions Cup and in Leagues Cup along with their MLS regular season. So that is the 3 competitions the Galaxy will be in, not counting Campeones Cup, right? Which is the 1-game playoff between the MLS, the winner of Major League Soccer and the winner of Liga MX, right? And that's going to happen sometime in September. So those are the competitions the LA Galaxy will be playing in. They will not be playing in the US Open Cup, but Ventura County will be playing in the US Open Cup. The LA Galaxy's, Galaxy 2 will be playing in that. But because they basically made it so that way everybody plays in like 2 competitions, and outside of the MLS regular season, and that way they're trying to basically say we're not going to have this same crazy, schedule congestion that we have been going. So it's a little bit of a nod to that. But the LA Galaxy will be playing in Leagues Cup, they'll be playing in CONCACAF Champions Cup, and they'll be in the MLS regular season, and then they have the 1 game that's the Campeones Cup. Those are the ones that they will be playing in, but no US Open Cup for the LA Galaxy. That's still sad for me. I like the US Open Cup. It's not super high priority, but by the way, neither is Leagues Cup. Quite honestly, Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup is really interesting, but it's not a top priority for me. It's always going to be about the league. So that's those. That made sense though, right? So
no, you're talking to someone who defends the FA Cup and the League Cup in England all day long. And for me, the history of the US Open Cup totally supersedes the monetization of the Leagues Cup.
Oh,
I don't even think it compares.
Well, the bastardization of the Leagues Cup has now continued here, and I will tell you exactly where Leagues Cup now stands. In some ways, a little better because there's not going to be this long, prolonged stoppage for Leagues Cup, right? These games will be played midweek, and so they'll sort of be fitting into different things.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 18 teams from Major League Soccer who will be playing in Leagues Cup. They took the top 18 teams and they took the top, and then they had all the Liga MX teams, which are 18. So it's 18 and 18, 36 teams, right? So that we at least understand. They're going to rank them in a whole bunch of different weird ways. But what you need to understand is that the top 9 teams from each MLS conference who participated in the Audi 2024 MLS Cup playoffs will qualify. And the only addition to this is that the Vancouver Whitecaps, because they will also be playing in the Canadian Cup and doing the stuff that they're doing, even though they qualified for Leagues Cup in 2025, they will not be playing, and San Diego is going to take their spot, right? So just a little housekeeping on that in terms of how they do that. Now, here is the format for the 2025 Leagues Cup. Phase 1, there's a Phase 1, which I can say that it just says Phase 1, and then there's knockout rounds, okay? They make it sound like it's going to be so easy, like Phase 1 will just be awesome. Phase 1 will feature 3 consecutive match dates per club to be played back-to-back. All 54 Phase 1 matches will be played between MLS and Liga MX clubs. That means, Sophie, and you're like, of course it does, because those are the only teams that are in Leagues Cup. So who else? No. MLS teams will not play against MLS teams. They will only play against Liga MX teams. Liga MX teams are not going to be playing against other Liga MX teams. They're only going to be playing against the MLS teams. So you will have, I think, 3 games where you will play, if you're the LA Galaxy, 3 Liga MX teams. Okay? Now, listen, there's a really convoluted way to sort of get into how this all works. And we can try to explain it, but I think it's going to become more clear as we get forward. But basically, they're ranking all of the teams from 1 to 36, Soph. The LA Galaxy would fit in at number 7. Club America, who was the 2024 Liga MX champion, is in at number 9, right? So this is overall on how the regular season standings finished and everything else. They rank those in there, and then they separate them into tiers. There's an Eastern clubs, and then there's a Western clubs. So you're separating the Mexican and U.S. teams into an Eastern and a Western conference, basically. And then they're put into tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and they're going to make groups up of tier 1, tier 2. You're going to play these different ones. That's how they're going to basically figure out what your schedule is. Now, when all that is said and done, here's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Buckle up. Are you ready? This is the crazy thing. Yeah, okay, good. You got your racket. Here's the crazy thing. When you're playing these games against Liga MX clubs, you're going to get points. You get 3 points for a win. I think you get 2 points for a penalty kick shootout win, and then you get 1 point for the draw to get to the penalty kick. So that's how it's 1, 2, and 3, right? So if you win a penalty kick shootout, you don't get 3 points, you get 2, so you get an extra point, right? That type of thing. If you lose in a penalty kick shootout, but it was drawn at the end, because remember, there's no extra time, it goes straight to penalty kicks. That's how it went last time too. So if you get a penalty kick win, it's 2 points. If you get just the draw, it's 1 point, right? So that's how they're going to do that. Your points don't count against other Liga MX teams. They're only going to count against MLS teams. So you're going to have a table of MLS teams on one side, and you're going to go play. Remember, MLS teams are just playing Liga MX teams, right? They're only playing the Mexican teams. They play the Mexican teams. If you won your 3 games and you got 9 points, you would have 9 points. So you have 9 points. Well, then it's going to be locked up against all the other MLS teams, right? So there's going to be a table that's just MLS teams and a table that's just Liga MX teams. And then you're going to take the top 4 teams in each of those tables at the end, and they're the ones who play out the rest of the tournament in a knockout round. Does that make any sense?
Okay. Did a bunch of people get drunk in a meeting and decided to come up with this absolute nonsense?
It's crazy.
This is absolutely crazy. Why wouldn't they just do it? At first with the Champions League, I was not for it, right? I thought more games. This is just a run to see what the Super League in Europe looks like, okay? But the Champions League format has been an absolute blast this season. And you're seeing these teams like Juventus and Real Madrid and, Manchester City have true jeopardy. And I love that. What is all this nonsense and mayonnaise being added to this competition.
Can you say it like they say it in Notting Hill? The mayonnaise. There's something wrong with this mayonnaise. Sorry.
There's something wrong with this mayonnaise.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
I mean,
I had to read this so many times. I think I understand it. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but I think I'm explaining it how
I think you
actually
are.
goes.
I just wonder if the listeners have started to stick needles in their eyes at this point. Just wondering.
So somebody goes, let's see, gives me tears listening about Leagues Cup. What in the 90 MLS rules is happening? We're going backwards. Let's see. My favorite one, Lex. Welcome to Whose Line Is It Anyway? The show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Scott says I need a drink after listening to this. Metal says I think I just died. So
I was just looking at some of them. Oh my gosh.
The people that came up with that Leagues Cup need to go to rehab. See, there's something wrong. There's something. Anyway, that's how it's going to play out. There's lots of charts that can show you how this is supposed to like work, and I don't think anybody really cares. But I wanted you to know.
How many games would the LA Galaxy or any of the MLS teams play in those rounds?
So 3.
Do we know?
So you have 3 to start in phase 1, and then you go into the top 4. So that's 4. So I think there's 4 more games. Is it 4 more games? Because it's 8 teams. Yes, 4 games.
Can you answer this question honestly, Josh? Do you think, and maybe it's a poll to do, but would Galaxy fans rather, get knocked out of this cup early and focus on, like, I think doing a repeat, right? Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
When something's so new, right? Do you feel it as much as like a US Open Cup, or do you feel it as much as, of course, winning another title? No, it's a manufactured trophy to
They all
monetize the game.
They all are manufactured. Let's be clear. Everything's manufactured. I don't want to. MLS is manufactured.
There's history in the cup.
But there wasn't.
It's the pinnacle.
Yeah, but there wasn't, right, until somebody made it.
They had to start somewhere.
I agree with that 100%. I'm just saying in general, but I agree with you that it feels very arm's length. I will say that I usually enjoy the games, right? I talk all sorts of crap on it, and I'll say all these things. I'll be like, that's stupid, and then I watch games like, these are kind of fun. There is the players seem to enjoy it up to a certain amount with all the games and stuff like that. When there was a break in the season, it was you wanted to do well because you didn't want to just stop playing soccer, right? So there was that. Being it's going to be midweek games and that type of thing, I think that probably works. I
think this is why it makes this championship even more valuable, because of the fact that you had that sandwiched in between.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And the squads aren't that deep.
No, and that's and if you talk to MLS execs, and I've had this conversation with some of them, certainly around the LA Galaxy, it's Tigres doesn't have to worry about a salary cap. So how deep can MLS? It's now to the point where I think that MLS teams can do really well against Liga MX, against the vast majority of the Liga MX teams, right? I think that's true. I think they can do well. They start getting into the depth, though, and you can see the difference. That's still the place where it is. It's not 1 through 11, right? But it's 12 through 20 is certainly the difference now, especially with those top teams.
I think the All-Star game masks that reality a little bit, though.
Yeah, it does. In the All-Star,
it's changed in the last 2 years. There's no doubt about that. But you'll see. And what you said is true about their depth and stuff. But I think some of that is masked by what's been happening in some of those games.
It very well could be. I want to get to Super Chat here from Adam, $5. Can we get a $5 Super Chat? Can we get Sophie's thoughts on Ted Uncle retiring, and how was Sophie's college experience? I'm at Dominguez Hills, transferred from community college. Well, how was your university? Where did you enjoy that?
I really enjoyed school. But I was really desperate to get to work. So
that makes sense for you. That makes sense for you. I can see that.
I didn't want to waste time not getting into the entertainment industry. So I tried to juggle a lot. I was doing school, and then I chose to work and do school at night and radio at night. So it was definitely challenging, but I was able to get a job at 20th Century Fox, and so dove into that like 100%, and then did school radio kind of at night and shifted gears a little bit. So
but
I loved high school. I enjoyed being in school a lot.
You're a sick person that you enjoyed high school. That was not my I didn't understand school until I was a senior in high school. And then from that on, I was actually a pretty good student. Was not a great student up until about a senior in high school. I think it just took me that long to mature and catch up because I'm fairly young for my age versus everybody else. I was almost a year younger than most of the people at school. So it made sense that I didn't finally catch up until the very end. But then I went off to college, had a great time and thought it was great. I was with you. I was always trying to work while I was in college though. But I was always like looking for fun jobs. So I worked at a golf course and did that and, got to play golf all the time and still went to school most of the time and did all that fun stuff. So, but what did you think about Ted Uncle retiring? Are you happy that Ted is gone? You won't have to deal with Mr. Referee Ted Uncle anymore? He never bothered me that much. I know lots of people. It's just because people knew his name. That was my thing. You shouldn't know referees' names.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I've come off a very busy. I was looking to see how old he was. I've had a very busy week moaning and talking about referees.
Yes.
Because of the incident last weekend. I had a referee on the show, Keith Hackett, who used to be the head of PGMOL, a FIFA referee. That was a fascinating conversation, just awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I hope he has a happy retirement.
C'est la vie, sir. C'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
Right?
Buy a nice shirt and enjoy golfing like Josh used to do.
I think I retired too. I think I retired when I was in college. That was my problem. I've been doing this backwards, and now I have like 3 jobs. So it's weird. Ronald, $5 super chat. Will the MLS stagnate down the road with this salary cap? Teams can rarely have a tenured legend with the system, and I think it hurts growing a brand. Not wrong. We talk about the cap increasing all the time, but it doesn't increase at a set. It only increases at a set rate, and a lot of times the inflation of player salaries goes past that increased rate. So then you're technically losing money every time, and then you get successful and you get bonuses, and all the bonuses have to start like hitting against the cap, and you have to pay for all the bonuses because everybody had an MLS Cup bonus, right? It's one of those. So I don't know.
They should pray that. What you don't want is a player getting injured really badly during Leagues Cup that takes away from the MLS Cup product. Let's see what happens, God forbid, if something like that were to happen. I mean, Messi was Messi injured in Leagues Cup last year, or was he injured in? Either way, those players were absolutely bushwhacked.
Yeah, they're tired.
By the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, then the Galaxy have multiple competitions that they're going to have to play in. It's going to be a thing. Depth is going to be tested. It's a young team whenever you get into the depth side. So we're going to have to watch that as it continues to go. We're not going to get into it a ton because we're going to wrap things up here pretty soon. But, a big shout out to Kobe Jones getting a statue. We had hinted about it on Monday that there was statue was coming, and I said it was either Robbie Keane or Kobe Jones. Listen, it was always going to be Kobe Jones, and that's pretty cool. So seeing some of the videos that came out, we're going to try to catch up with Kobe here in the near future, and whenever that happens, we'll let you know. Now, some other things that I want to get to before we get out. I know you.
By the way, well done. I have to say something because he's an absolute gentleman, and whenever you see him around, he's always got time for everybody. And great decision and long time coming. He probably should have been the first.
Probably 100%. Probably should have been the first. Will come out in 2026 in conjunction with the World Cup in the United States. So a fitting tribute to that. Very good. I saw the video of David Beckham congratulating Kobe today. So yes, very well done on that.
I'm glad you said that video and not his new Boss commercial.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't see that. I haven't. No, I don't watch commercials. I don't watch commercials. Okay.
You won't like it.
Okay. Well, then I won't watch it. Let's see. We are giving away 2 VIP passes to Coachella. Here is how you can win those. And this is very simple. You're going to send an email to cornerofthegalaxy@gmail.com. Whenever you can only send in 1 email. Listen, I will track you down by name and do a whole bunch of things to make sure that you only have 1 entry. So try to just play this game the right way and we won't have any problems. And if I see people abusing it, I'll just take your stuff out. I will find you. I know how to do these things. I will find you and I will kick you out and you will not get tickets. But we're going to do this. So send in the email. Yeah, I know, right?
Images of Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive running through my mind.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. It's great. That's a great movie. Oh, God, now I want to watch that movie. I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and they had the one where they had the prison escape, and where Jake Peralta plays the whole. He's like, no, you're supposed to say, yeah, I didn't kill my wife. He's, what are we even doing here? He's, no, you're supposed to say I don't care, right? Like he wanted to play out.
I don't watch that show. Should I watch it?
I like it. It's a good for a chuckle. And it's good. It's a good, it's one of those that I can watch, just turn it on, maybe do some other things, but it's there, and I'll chuckle. I'll be like, that's funny.
I need a good chuckle when I've got half hour at night when I feel like I'm falling asleep. Like last night, I just put Seinfeld on before I went to bed.
Seinfeld's great. I'll always can watch, but I do enjoy Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But yeah, no. So we're doing this. So you're gonna send an email. You're gonna basically put your name, your first name, your last name, and you're gonna have your email in there, and you're gonna say, I want to win the tickets. Whatever you say, it's fine. It's just, no sob stories. Listen, don't waste your time. I'm not going to look at it. Your name's just going to go into a random generator, and we're going to pick that. We're going to pick it on Thursday night's show. So you have until Thursday night. cornerofthegalaxy@gmail.com. 2 VIP tickets for February 9th, where we're doing our live show. VIP comes with prepaid food and some drinks in there. I don't think alcohol, but drinks.
Look at that.
It's good. This is good. We are doing the best thing. So that's where we're sitting, all that. All right. Anything else, Miss Soph, that you want to talk about before we get on out of here? There's still, by the way, stuff we didn't even talk about, like Sunday Night Soccer is coming. MLS is putting together Sunday Night Soccer. They're going to have a Sunday Night Soccer show. So, by the way, there should have been Sunday Night Soccer the whole time. I got nothing to do on Sunday night. It's a game I will watch. Sunday Night Soccer, I'm in. Let's do it. By the way, the first one is the LA Galaxy versus San Diego. So we'll be at the stadium. That's the first Sunday Night Soccer. But Andrew Weeby's going to be on the sideline with Taylor Twellman and is it Jake Nevin? It's not that. It's Zivin with Jake. And Jake, I'm sorry. I'm actually a huge fan. I just can never remember your last name. So that's going to happen. There was evaluations that came out here real quick. Here, I'll just throw it in here. Galaxy sitting in the third most valuable franchise according to Sportico at $1.11 billion. Inter Miami at $1.19 billion. And then LAFC at $1.28 billion. The LA Galaxy increased by 13% year over year, and Miami plus 17%. So just some interesting stuff in all of that.
I love that type of stuff. And by the way, I kept myself on mute there for a bit because I'm like, I cannot let Big Ben chime 9 times in the middle of Josh's show. And
That's
so when
good.
you started talking about the Sunday Night Soccer show, I was so relieved because I'm like, keep going. 8, 7, 8, 9.
I did it. I didn't even know.
By the way, they should have been doing it. There should be a marquee event, a marquee show. Although, are they going to be going up against the NFL?
Not for most of the for some of the year.
Or will it be later? Because Sunday night NFL game starts at 5:30ish our time.
It'll happen in the fall, right? Whenever that finally comes around. So you're into September. That's whenever you'll finally be back. I think September, October is whenever NFL starts in September, right? And they'll have some preseason in August, right? And then it goes into September. So
September's when the big kahuna,
Yeah. So that, but then, that's when you have MLS heating up in terms of, playoffs and down the stretch and all that fun stuff. Playoffs? You want to talk about playoffs? Playoffs. So great. I tell the story every time we do one of those, but I taught my wife those ones like practice. You want to talk about practice and then playoffs? Playoffs? They are who we thought they were, right? There's just great ones that everybody needs to know just in general thing.
So good.
Adam, $2 super chat said, who's the longest tenured player on the LA Galaxy? Somebody said it's Zavaleta. I do believe it might be Eric Zavaleta at this point.
Wow, really?
Yeah, we can go back and sort of look at the see Ricky, Painzel, Pack, Fagundes, Royce, Davis, nope. Yoshida, nope. Yovo, Cerrillo, Marcin, nope. Audi, Nelson, McCarthy, Garces, Barry, Mitrovic, Cuevas, maybe Cuevas, Zavaleta.
It would have been Jalen Neal.
Yep.
Is Zavaleta staying?
He is. He signed a contract for 1 year. Yeah, whatever.
When was that recent?
Yeah.
Did I miss that? Was I in my European? Yeah, I missed that one.
Yep. So.
Very good.
All right. Anything else you'd like to get to? Are we good?
No, I'm good, and I can't believe how quickly the new season has come around. I mean, it's insane. It's really quite crazy.
It is right now. We're approaching, Coachella. That's how quickly we're there. We're going to be in Coachella in no time. Again, The game's coming up on the 5th, February 5th. The 1st is on Saturday. The 5th is a Wednesday, right? So the 5th. Then we're there on Sunday, the 9th. Super Bowl Sunday, LA Galaxy, Charlotte, I think it's a 10 a.m. game. And then right after that, right before 12, we have a live show that's probably going to go on for an hour. We expect a player or a coach. Perhaps we can convince Will Kuntz to stop by. Maybe some other people in there as well. We'll tell you whenever we have them lined up. But that's how quickly we are. Then there's a game on the February 12th. Then there's a game on February 15th. Then the 23rd, the season starts. That's it. February, we have already mapped out February. It's basically almost over. January never ends, but February for some reason is already over. I don't know how it works. This is it.
It's crazy. So it looks like you'll be spending Valentine's Day there with the panda.
Maybe
El Nino too.
No, just on the 9th. We're only there on the 9th. I will not be there. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I have others. I have other commitments. My wife has made it very clear that I have other things to do on other days. So that is how it's going to go. So I'm excited though. It's going to be fun. All right. So
I'm excited. I'm excited for the new season, a new team, new faces. It'll be good to see how this closes out, and it's been great being back with you and the Galaxians again. Thank you for having me,
of course,
and good times.
Tell people where they can find you. Go for it.
At Highbury Squad. And to answer Aaron's question, my favorite British show is Only Fools and Horses.
Only Fools and Horses. Never seen it. I will now put it on my list. If you're looking for me on social media, it's at Galaxy Podcast on all those fine establishments. And some of them aren't fine, and some of them aren't really even that established. But that's where you can find me at Galaxy Podcast. Go ahead and look it up. cornerofthegalaxy.com is always where you can find our shows or anything else that we put in that direction. So cornerofthegalaxy.com is right there for you. And then, of course, go to YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, all those places where you can find our podcast. All right. For Miss Sophie, the Cannon, Nicolaou, I am Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook, searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.